Today, I'm the luckiest girl in the world. I'm flying to Atlanta to interview my pop culture crush, Justin Bieber. He's only 16, it's true, but half of womankind is in love with him, like Kim Kardashian, who wanted to spend Valentine's Day with a life-size poster of him, Rihanna, who has tweeted about his six-pack, and Katy Perry, who once said, "I would tap that, yummy." To the Beliebers, Justin is the most adorable, talented, sensual kid in the world. I've watched his videos at least a dozen times each. I own 2 of his 3 albums, and I have him on my Twitter feed, though I've never tried to get him to retweet my name on my birthday, or asked him to send me a virtual kiss, or bought a lock of his hair on eBay for my locket. It's going to be a great day. Justin's even supposed to take me ice skating. But he's an hour late, and I'm still waiting around for him at 10 a.m. Then I notice a black Range Rover idling across the street, the Biebermobile, the one he got after he got his driver's license last year. He beeps the horn and I scurry over, flinging open the door. That's where the soundtrack to this romantic interlude screeches to a halt. The female fantasy about Bieber has a lot to do with wanting him to be your first real boyfriend, or, for older women, with the way that he harkens back to the time when you had your first boyfriend. But as soon as I see Bieber, I realize that I have deeply confused fantasy with reality. The 122-pound, roughly 5.5-foot tall person in the driver's seat of this enormous Range Rover is a child. A self-assured one, who may be used to the sound of screaming fans in the bleachers, but still a child who, as he should, lives in his own circumscribed world, uninterested in anyone's fantasies except for his own. "Yo, sorry for being late," he says. "Traffic." He yawns. "It's so early. People are going to work, I guess." "Like, work? What's that?" Bieber swishes his car through the high-rise canyons of downtown Atlanta, keeping one hand on the steering wheel. "We're going to IHOP, right?" he asks his bodyguard, who looms in the back seat. "I get the crepes at IHOP," he says later. "You know, say you like crepes." "I will not say it. Say you like them." "Are those little pancakes? I love those." "Oh, then just say you like the pancakes." "No." Bieber gives a self-satisfied grin, announcing with a flourish, "Talladega Nights." As is often the case with a 16-year-old boy, there's a stereo on in his car, played at an ear-splitting volume. There are more moments of quoting lines from movies. There's a discussion of why he's wearing Band-Aids on his fingers. "I don't know," he says. "I'm not hurt or anything. I just like Band-Aids." Suddenly, Bieber starts fiddling around with something in his teeth, and like a kitten throwing up a hairball, suddenly spits forth some sort of thin piece of plastic. He's been wearing Invisaligns, a kind of invisible braces, for the past year. "My teeth hurt," he says. "They were pointed inwards a little bit, so they had to bring them out, but when they did that, it made a small space in my teeth, and now they have to push that in," he says. He sulks a little, then sticks them back in. And I have to say, it's pretty adorable the way he does that. Ow. Even with the braces, Bieber is America's coolest kid, the one who has dominated every medium in the past year as a direct result of his sweet voice, slick moves, and superhuman ability to make panties wet. He's conquering everything in his path, from music charts, a book and a 3D movie, Never Say Never, to every last corner of the internet, with more views on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube than there are people living in mid-sized American cities. Everywhere he goes, there's a melee. Girls trampled underfoot before a concert in Sydney, a Long Island mall overwhelmed, and a near riot in a New Zealand airport.
"There's a frenzy going on about Justin, and the frenzy is that he's hot,"
says L.A. Reid, the head of Bieber's label, Island Def Jam.
"The girls just love him. They think he's their boyfriend and there's a shot for them. Justin sold them a dream and they're buying it hook, line, and sinker."
Bieber fever has reached the point where he can't do concerts anymore in venues without seats.
"Otherwise, you've got a mob pushing, and even if it's little girls, they're crawling on top of each other with their arms and elbows and getting injured,"
says Kenny Hamilton, Bieber's bodyguard. Bieber doesn't want his fans getting hurt, but he doesn't spend much time thinking about the reasons behind the frenzy, the answer to why so many girls are desperate to bestow their virginity upon him. I really don't know why they're acting that way, says Bieber, disengaging his braces again, but this time he doesn't spit them out. He just leaves them rumbling around in his mouth. And you know what? I don't think about it. My attitude is, why ask questions when things are going so well? Ain't no questions that should be asked in this situation. He nods a little, laughing, and then shrugs. They love me, and that's it. That's the way Bieber talks, jauntily and a little suave with a bit of ebonics, similar to most cool white boys in America, even if he's really from Canada. I'll never be an American citizen, he says, and adds, half jokingly, you guys are evil. Canada's the best country in the world. When pressed on the reasons for Canada's supremacy, he points to everything from traveling American college students who put Canadian flags on their backpacks to diffuse any potential tension, to healthcare. We go to the doctor, we don't need to worry about paying him, but here, your whole life, you're broke because of medical bills, says Bieber. My bodyguard's baby was premature, and now he has to pay for it. In Canada, if your baby's premature, he stays in the hospital as long as he needs to, and then you go home. That's right, Bieber truly does have a sympathetic and emotional side, but that doesn't mean he sits around mooning over girls the way that he does on his records, where he's always either talking about being in love or wondering why his love broke up with him, or about the first dance he's going to have with you, one where he promises to be gentle because he knows we gotta do it slowly. In real life, Bieber is a die-hard hip-hop fan. In his Range Rover, he plays records by his pal Lil Twist, Lil Wayne, and Soulja Boy. In particular, his song about hopping out of bed to turn on his swag because he's taking a look in the mirror to say, "What's up, yeah? I'm getting money, oh." Swag is Bieber's favorite word, and he punctuates hundreds of sentences with it today. He points to the front of the oversized black t-shirt which features Mickey Mouse. See, Mickey's got a chain on here, so that's why I put mine on too, he says. Swag. The chains too are swag, of course, loaded down with a dog tag and a cross made of black diamonds, which swing this way and that, low on his chest as he makes his way around town. That's right, I wear black diamonds instead of regular ones, he says, nodding his head a little, because I'm not flashy, just flossy. At the IHOP, Bieber slips into a booth, hardly looking around to see if he's recognized. See, it's 11 a.m. right now, so there's all people in the IHOP, he says. Come here after 4, it's a different story, but now all the kids are in school. All these people are like grandmothers. If you have moms in here, it would be bad. The moms are the worst. He gets the crepes, Nutella ones with bananas and strawberries on top, and then recites about 10 more Will Ferrell jokes, including the one from The Other Guys about a tuna eating a lion, and another about ordering a half-calf in Kicking and Screaming. He talks about what he wants to do today. He wants to stop by his studio and maybe buy a toiletry bag, because he never had one, and now he's got all this adult stuff to carry like deodorant, shampoo, and conditioner. And then he's got to take off for LA, where he's hoping to hang out with a friend, a music producer, who just got his driver's license too, and they might try out a Ferrari. He might be moving to LA after his next tour, but he doesn't like it there much. In LA, his defenses go up because he can't walk around anywhere and is always getting trailed by the paparazzi. I hate paparazzi, he says. They're stalkers with a camera. If someone's following you, that's automatically a crime, but if they have a camera, it's okay? I don't agree with that at all. There's one thing I didn't hear in his to-do list, though. What about our ice skating date? What, someone said we were going to ice skate? He says, raising an eyebrow to communicate just how corny he thinks that idea is. When the check arrives, I try to pay, but he throws down a card. I have a credit card, he starts boasting, but then thinks better of it. Well, it's a bank card, which is kind of like credit card. After all, this card does have credit, and credit means that you don't have to carry money. Bieber may not have access to his money until he's 18, but one would imagine that he has gobs of it. He said he doesn't think about money much, though. I don't love money because once you start loving money, you've got a big house and nice cars and just an empty heart, and that's the truth. I'm not just saying that, he says. And wow, does he look cute when he says the word heart. Bieber considers himself somewhat street because he was born into a poor, broken family. His mom, Patty Millette, a tiny woman, at least a few inches shorter than Bieber, with a pixie face and enormous blue eyes, had a horror story of a childhood. She was sexually abused as a child and left home at 15. I was messed up on drugs and alcohol, says Millette. At 17, I went into the hospital for trying to commit suicide. She called on a higher power. I decided to call out and say, God, if you're real, if you've got a better way, show me, she says. And he did. He gave me a reason to live. Millette turned her life around, learning web design and joining an evangelical church, the kind with emphasis on the power of prayer, semi-acoustic modern Christian rock, and lots of talk about Jesus. Within a couple of years, though, she became pregnant with Justin out of wedlock. She couldn't find a full-time job, so she took a job at Zeller's, a Walmart-like chain store. Bieber's dad, Jeremy, a ripped young fighter who competed in a UFC-like Muay Thai league, was in and out of the picture. My dad would take me out to training with him and I'd spar and kick the bags, says Bieber. He was really good. He never lost. Soon, Millette was forced to move into a public housing complex into a basement-level apartment. That place was really dirty, says Bieber. We had mouse traps everywhere because there were mice in the house. I didn't have a real bed. I slept on a blue pull-out couch in my room. We didn't have anything in the fridge ever, except maybe lunch meat for school and Kraft macaroni and cheese. Bieber didn't have a lot of friends in the building, but Millette's young friends always dropped by in the evenings, sometimes bringing instruments. Millette fiddled around on the piano and knew a few chords on the guitar. I'm not a musician, but music was a big part of my life because my friends played, says Millette. At home, I'd start jamming with friends and Justin would grab a yembe. It was a way for both of us to connect with people. Bieber impressed Millette's friends by keeping a beat on the kitchen chair when he was a preschooler and picking up drums thereafter. He was intensely social at school and sometimes received detention for talking to friends in class. There wasn't money for music lessons, and in any case, Bieber was more focused on sports like hockey, soccer, and golf. He still sang at home and in church, though, and even started busking on a street corner. When he placed second in a local singing competition in his hometown of Stratford, Ontario, the Stratford Idol, Millette uploaded the videos to YouTube, where they attracted tens of thousands of views. One day, Millette got a call from Scooter Braun, a Jewish 25-year-old from Tony, Greenwich, Connecticut, who had made a name for himself in Atlanta throwing hip-hop parties for white kids. Braun had recently quit his marketing job at Jermaine Dupri's So Def Records. My dad told me, if you work for a man's company and if he disagrees with you, you shut the fuck up and listen to him. But if you know you can do it differently, then leave, so I left, he says. And he was on the hunt for artists he could develop. He found Bieber's videos accidentally after clicking on a link to an act that Akon was interested in. Braun was already working with rapper Asher Roth, who was living on his couch. Braun offered an even better deal to Millette when he called her. If she agreed to fly Bieber down to Atlanta and everyone agreed on terms, he'd rent them a townhouse and get Bieber a deal. Millette wasn't sure. I heard so many horror stories about the music industry, she says. And when God presented Scooter, I was like, wow, surely you're going to give us a Christian manager. But when I prayed about Scooter, I had complete peace, so I knew he'd chosen a Jewish manager. Millette asked to meet his family to find out what kind of man he was. Luckily, his dad was on a layover in Atlanta on his way back to Greenwich after a kiteboarding trip to Brazil, so they were all able to meet up at an airport TGI Fridays.